Life often feels like an unpredictable journey, full of obstacles that seem insurmountable. For many of us, the challenges we face in our later years may appear more daunting than the ones we encountered in youth. Yet some people demonstrate that no matter how difficult life becomes, there is always a way to push through. This is the story of one such individual, a man who refused to accept limits no matter the circumstances. His name is David Goggins, and his life is a testament to the power of mental strength, perseverance, and relentless determination. David's early life was marked by hardships that would have broken most people. He grew up in a household filled with fear, violence, and confusion. His father was abusive, and his family struggled with financial instability and constant tension. In addition to facing abuse, David also encountered racial prejudice and the frustration of feeling different from others. He struggled academically, faced bullying, and wrestled with a sense of inadequacy that would haunt him well into adulthood. Yet, despite all these obstacles, he discovered that the human spirit can endure far more than we typically imagine. From a young age, David realized that life wouldn't hand him opportunities. He observed people around him either succumbing to their circumstances or making excuses for their shortcomings. He refused to follow the same path. Instead, he sought ways to take ownership of his life, no matter how daunting the journey seemed. One of the first lessons he learned is that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The distinction between these two ideas became a cornerstone of his philosophy. Life will challenge you, but how you respond determines your growth. David's approach was radical in its simplicity. He believed that most people operate far below their true potential. When faced with hardship, they often quit or accept mediocrity. He called this the 40% rule, the idea that when you feel you have reached your limit, you have actually only tapped into a fraction of your true capacity. This mindset became a guiding principle throughout his life, whether he was running long-distance races, enduring grueling military training, or confronting personal fears and doubts. Throughout the pages of his story, David shares not just the hardships he faced, but also the practical methods he used to overcome them. He emphasizes accountability, brutal honesty with oneself, and embracing discomfort as a tool for growth. These lessons are universal, offering strategies not just for physical endurance, but for mental resilience, tools that remain valuable no matter one's stage in life. As we begin this journey through David Goggins' life, keep in mind that the purpose is not just to recount a story of extreme physical feats, but to explore the mindset behind them. Every obstacle he faced, every trial he endured, and every triumph he celebrated carries lessons in persistence, courage, and self-mastery. Even in the face of age, declining energy, or long-established habits, the principles he embodies remind us that it is never too late to challenge ourselves and push beyond perceived limitations. If you've ever felt that life has grown too difficult or that your best years are behind you, David's story offers a roadmap for reclaiming control, forging resilience, and finding purpose through adversity. In the next part, we'll dive into his early struggles, the moments that shaped his character, and the first steps he took toward transforming his life into one of extraordinary discipline and achievement.
Before David Goggins became known for his extreme endurance feats and mental toughness, he was a young boy navigating a world that seemed stacked against him. His early years were filled with fear, uncertainty, and hardship, an environment that could have easily shaped him into someone defeated and bitter. Instead, these experiences became the foundation of his remarkable resilience. David was born into a household marked by chaos. His father's temper was explosive, and violence was an unfortunate part of daily life. Simple moments of peace were rare, and even the most ordinary situations could become stressful or frightening. David's mother, while loving, struggled to shield her children from the harsh realities at home. Growing up in this environment, he often felt alone, unsupported, and unsure of his place in the world. On top of family struggles, David also faced racial prejudice and societal discrimination. In school and his neighborhood, he often felt like an outsider. Bullies targeted him, making him painfully aware of his differences. These experiences left emotional scars, but they also sparked an important realization. Life would not protect him, and no one else would fight his battles. If he wanted to survive and thrive, he would have to develop inner strength. Academically, David struggled. Reading and writing did not come easily, and the frustration of falling behind in school only added to his sense of inadequacy. At times, he doubted himself so deeply that he felt incapable of achieving anything meaningful. But even in these early struggles, a spark of determination began to emerge. David realized that his challenges, though painful, were also opportunities. If he could endure the difficulties around him, he could strengthen his mind and character in ways that others could not. A key lesson David learned during these years was the importance of accountability. He began to understand that blaming others or circumstances for his struggles would not change anything. He had to face reality honestly, no matter how painful, and decide what he could do to improve his situation. This principle of brutal self-honesty would become a cornerstone of his philosophy later in life. Despite the chaos around him, David discovered that small victories mattered. Whether it was finishing a difficult school assignment or standing up to a bully, each challenge he overcame reinforced the idea that effort, persistence, and courage could create change. These early lessons, while often painful, taught him that resilience is built, not in comfort, but in struggle. By the end of his childhood, David had already begun to internalize a mindset that would guide him through far greater challenges ahead. He would soon face new challenges, some physical, some mental, that would test every ounce of the resilience he had cultivated during these early years.
As David Goggins entered his teenage years, the challenges of his childhood followed him, but new obstacles emerged. School life, social pressures, and his own sense of inadequacy made adolescence a difficult time. While many teenagers struggle with identity and confidence, David faced intensified versions of these issues. Bullying persisted, his family life remained unstable, and he began grappling with his own body. During these years, David became painfully aware of his physical limitations. Overweight and lacking confidence, he found it difficult to fit in with peers. Activities that required stamina or agility were intimidating, and the feelings of embarrassment and frustration compounded his sense of isolation. But rather than allowing these challenges to define him, David began to recognize them as opportunities to change. He realized that if he could conquer his physical weaknesses, he could also gain control over his mind and spirit. David's first serious attempt at transformation started with small steps. He experimented with diet, began exercising, and pushed himself beyond the comfort zone of inactivity. At first, progress was slow and discouraging. The weight didn't come off as quickly as he hoped, and setbacks often felt overwhelming. Yet, he discovered an essential truth. Consistency and perseverance were more important than immediate results. Every day he pushed himself, no matter how small the improvement, laid the foundation for the changes that would define his later life. Adolescence also brought mental challenges that tested David's resolve. He faced internal battles with self-doubt, fear, and anger. Many times he felt trapped by his circumstances, wondering if he would ever escape the limitations imposed by his past and present. However, the lessons from his childhood, brutal self-honesty, accountability, and the willingness to endure pain remained guiding lights. He began to internalize the idea that suffering, when approached intentionally, could be a tool for growth rather than a punishment. Around this time, David also observed examples of discipline and achievement outside his own life. Stories of military heroes, endurance athletes, and others who overcame extreme adversity inspired him. These examples planted a seed. If they could push past their limits, perhaps he could too. The concept of the 40% rule, that most people give up when they've only used a fraction of their potential, began to take root, even if he didn't yet fully understand it. By the end of his teenage years, David's life was still far from easy. He faced prejudice, economic hardship, and personal insecurities. Yet, he had begun the slow, difficult process of building himself into someone capable of extraordinary achievement. The combination of mental toughness, physical discipline, and accountability became his toolkit for the next stage of life, adulthood, where the challenges would grow more intense and the opportunities for transformation even greater. In the next part, we will explore David's early adulthood, his decision to join the military, and the grueling trials that would push him to the limits of physical and mental endurance, testing the lessons he had spent years cultivating.
As David Goggins moved into early adulthood, the habits he had begun developing in his teenage years, discipline, self-honesty, and endurance, were about to be tested like never before. Life demanded more of him, and he realized that to truly transform, he would have to step into a world designed to challenge every limit of body and mind. For David, that world became the military. Initially, Goggins' path to the armed forces was anything but smooth. He had to confront not only his physical limitations, but also past injuries and lingering self-doubt. The obstacles he faced were daunting: rigorous physical requirements, mental evaluations, and the harsh reality that many who attempted the training would not succeed. Yet for the first time, he had a clear objective, a goal so demanding that it would force him to confront every weakness he carried. David's first attempts at military training were met with failure. His body was not yet prepared for the extreme demands, and he faced rejection that would have discouraged most people. Many would have turned back, accepting a life of mediocrity or making excuses. But Goggins saw failure differently. He treated each setback as a lesson, a roadmap highlighting what needed to change. With unflinching honesty, he assessed his weaknesses, physical endurance, diet, and mindset, and set about correcting them, step by grueling step. To prepare for the trials ahead, David immersed himself in extreme physical training. He ran long distances, lifted weights relentlessly, and pushed his cardiovascular capacity beyond what he believed possible. But his transformation was not purely physical. Goggins understood that the mind must be conditioned just as rigorously as the body. He embraced mental discomfort, learning to sit with pain, push through exhaustion, and silence the voice that said, "I can't." Every mile run, every hour spent training, and every night of self-reflection chipped away at the limits he once thought were permanent. During this period, Goggins also developed a philosophy that would guide him for the rest of his life. He called it callousing the mind. Just as hands develop toughness through labor, the mind becomes resilient through deliberate exposure to hardship. Rather than avoiding pain, David sought it, recognizing that true growth emerges when we embrace the challenges most people evade. This mindset would allow him not only to succeed in military training, but also to endure the far more extreme trials he would encounter later. By the time David returned for another attempt at military qualification, his body was stronger, his mind sharper, and his determination unshakable. The failures of the past had been transformed into fuel, and every obstacle became a test of his commitment to personal growth. The young man who had once struggled with weight, self-doubt, and fear now stood on the threshold of one of the most grueling training programs in the world, the Navy SEALs. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' experiences during Hell Week, the most demanding phase of SEAL training, and the lessons he learned about mental endurance, teamwork, and the extraordinary capacity of the human spirit when pushed beyond perceived limits. Around this time, David also observed examples of discipline and achievement outside his own life. Stories of military heroes, endurance athletes, and others who overcame extreme adversity inspired him. These examples planted a seed. If they could push past their limits, perhaps he could too. The concept of the 40% rule, that most people give up when they've only used a fraction of their potential, began to take root, even if he didn't yet fully understand it. By the end of his teenage years, David's life was still far from easy. He faced prejudice, economic hardship, and personal insecurities. Yet he had begun the slow, difficult process of building himself into someone capable of extraordinary achievement. The combination of mental toughness, physical discipline, and accountability became his toolkit for the next stage of life, adulthood, where the challenges would grow more intense and the opportunities for transformation even greater. In the next part, we will explore David's early adulthood, his decision to join the military, and the grueling trials that would push him to the limits of physical and mental endurance, testing the lessons he had spent years cultivating.
For David Goggins, Navy SEAL training was not just a physical challenge, it was a crucible for the mind and spirit. The most notorious part of this training is Hell Week, a grueling 5.5-day test designed to push candidates to the absolute limits of endurance, resilience, and mental fortitude. It's an experience that has defeated the vast majority of those who attempt it. For David, Hell Week became a defining moment, a place where the lessons of his youth and adolescence would be tested like never before. Hell Week begins with near constant activity. Candidates sleep only a few hours over the entire week, while performing back-to-back physical exercises, running, swimming, carrying heavy loads, and enduring freezing water and relentless physical punishment. Every moment is an assault on the body, designed to make trainees confront pain and exhaustion that feels unbearable. Most people succumb not because they are physically incapable, but because their minds give in long before the body does. David had learned early in life that the mind could often be the strongest ally or the greatest enemy. The 40% rule became his guiding principle. When he felt he could go no further, he knew he had barely tapped into his true potential. This mental framework allowed him to approach each challenge with a mindset of perseverance, transforming suffering into opportunity. Each lap, each push-up, each cold water immersion became a deliberate exercise in callousing his mind. Pain and fear are constants during Hell Week. Trainees are subjected to exhaustion, freezing conditions, and relentless pressure to perform. Some break down mentally, while others physically fail. David recalls moments when every muscle screamed, every bone ached, and his mind pleaded for relief. Yet he discovered a remarkable truth. The human body and mind are capable of enduring far more than most realize. By focusing on small goals, one step, one stroke, one breath at a time, he was able to keep moving, refusing to let discomfort dictate his limits. Another lesson emerged during Hell Week: the power of accountability and teamwork. Though SEAL training is intensely individual, candidates rely on each other for support and motivation. David learned to push himself not only for his own success, but for the team. The shared struggle creates bonds forged in extreme adversity, reinforcing the idea that growth is amplified when we lean on others while holding ourselves accountable. By the end of Hell Week, David had endured challenges that would have crushed most people. He emerged not just physically stronger, but mentally transformed. The experience proved that true limits are rarely fixed. They are flexible, expandable, and often self-imposed.
Goggins's journey through Hell Week reinforced the principle that the greatest victories are born from sustained discomfort and relentless persistence. In the next part, we will explore how David took the lessons from SEAL training and applied them to life beyond the military, confronting personal fears, embracing ultra-endurance challenges, and continuing to push the boundaries of human potential.
After completing the grueling Navy SEAL training and proving himself through Hell Week, David Goggins faced a question that would shape the next chapter of his life. What comes after conquering what most people consider the ultimate test? For many, the answer would be rest, comfort, or retirement from extreme challenges. But for Goggins, the end of SEAL training was not an endpoint. It was a doorway to new, self-imposed trials that would push his body and mind to even greater extremes. Goggins' post-military journey centered around endurance challenges that seemed impossible to most. He entered ultra-marathons, long-distance cycling events, and extreme obstacle races. These competitions tested not only physical stamina, but also mental resilience. Unlike military training, which has a structured environment and instructors pushing candidates, ultra-endurance events demanded self-discipline, self-motivation, and the ability to endure pain in isolation. This new frontier became a proving ground for the lessons he had learned about the mind's capacity to endure suffering. David's philosophy during this time was simple but profound. Discomfort is the path to growth. He deliberately sought challenges that were beyond his comfort zone, understanding that real transformation occurs when we willingly embrace struggle. Running hundreds of miles, cycling through punishing conditions, or swimming in icy waters were not just athletic pursuits, they were deliberate exercises in callousing the mind, reinforcing the principle that most people quit when they've only reached a fraction of their potential. In addition to physical endurance, these challenges revealed another essential truth. Suffering is universal, but perspective shapes the experience. Goggins learned to reframe pain not as punishment, but as opportunity, a tool to strengthen resilience, build confidence, and cultivate self-mastery. Every long run, every race, and every physical trial became a meditation in perseverance, teaching him to focus on incremental progress rather than immediate results. Accountability remained central to his growth. Even as he faced extreme physical challenges alone, David maintained a practice of self-reflection and honesty. He kept meticulous records of his progress, acknowledged his failures without excuses, and consistently sought ways to improve. This practice of relentless self-assessment ensured that every setback became a lesson, every obstacle a stepping stone toward greater capability.
As David Goggins pushed his body and mind to extraordinary limits, he began to realize that the lessons he had learned were not just for himself. The struggles, the suffering, and the triumphs contained universal truths about human potential, truths that could inspire others to overcome their own challenges. Goggins' story became a blueprint for mental toughness, discipline, and perseverance, showing that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary feats if they embrace discomfort and hold themselves accountable. Central to Goggins' philosophy is the idea that the mind is the ultimate tool for overcoming adversity. Most people quit when they think they've reached their limits, but Goggins insists that these limits are often self-imposed. By deliberately seeking challenges and enduring pain, we can expand our capacity to endure and grow. He calls this process callousing the mind, a practice of building a resilience through consistent, intentional exposure to difficulty. Goggins' story became a blueprint for mental toughness, discipline, and perseverance, showing that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary feats if they embrace discomfort and hold themselves accountable. Central to Goggins' philosophy is the idea that the mind is the ultimate tool for overcoming adversity. Most people quit when they think they've reached their limits, but Goggins insists that these limits are often self-imposed. By deliberately seeking challenges and enduring pain, we can expand our capacity to endure and grow. He calls this process callousing the mind, a practice of building resilience through consistent, intentional exposure to difficulty. Goggins also emphasizes the importance of brutal self-honesty. He encourages people to look in the mirror and confront the truth about themselves, their habits, and their excuses. This practice, which he refers to as the accountability mirror, is a daily exercise in self-reflection and discipline. By acknowledging weaknesses without judgment and setting concrete goals to address them, anyone can take control of their life, regardless of past failures or current circumstances. Public speaking became a natural outlet for Goggins' message. He shares stories from his life, childhood abuse, racial prejudice, academic struggles, and the punishing trials of SEAL training. Not to impress, but to illustrate that growth comes from perseverance, resilience, and an unwavering refusal to give up. His speeches resonate because they are rooted in lived experience and practical strategies, not abstract theory. Audiences are reminded that every challenge, no matter how daunting, can be approached methodically and overcome. Another key lesson from Goggins' philosophy is the deliberate embrace of discomfort. He believes that seeking challenges that scare or intimidate us is essential for growth. This principle applies to all areas of life, not just athletic or military endeavors. For instance, taking on new responsibilities, pursuing difficult conversations, or learning new skills can all serve as forms of mental callousing, strengthening character and fostering resilience. Finally, Goggins underscores the value of persistence over talent. Many people rely on natural ability or intelligence as excuses for inaction. But true achievement comes from consistent effort, discipline, and the willingness to push through moments of pain and doubt. By combining accountability, deliberate discomfort, and relentless persistence, anyone can cultivate a mindset that defies limitation. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' approach to personal transformation through structured goal setting, the 40% rule, and the small daily habits that compound into extraordinary results. These strategies show how ordinary actions, when executed consistently, lead to profound growth and resilience.
One of the most powerful ideas David Goggins shares is the concept of the 40% rule. Simply put, most people give up when they have only tapped into a fraction of their true potential, about 40%. This means that when you feel exhausted, overwhelmed, or ready to quit, you have only begun to scratch the surface of what your mind and body can achieve. Recognizing this hidden reserve of strength is a cornerstone of mental toughness, and it's a lesson that transcends age, profession, and physical ability. Goggins emphasizes that unlocking this potential begins with structured goal setting. Rather than relying on vague aspirations, he encourages defining clear, measurable objectives. Goals act as both a compass and a motivator, providing a roadmap for incremental progress. By breaking large ambitions into small, actionable steps, it becomes possible to tackle even the most daunting challenges. For example, running an ultramarathon may feel impossible at first, but completing small training runs and building endurance gradually transforms a distant dream into an achievable reality. Daily habits, according to Goggins, are the engines that fuel transformation. Consistency in small actions compounds over time, creating extraordinary results. Whether it's waking up early, committing to physical training, journaling, or engaging in mental exercises, these routines develop discipline and resilience. Importantly, Goggins stresses that discipline is more critical than motivation. Motivation is fleeting and unreliable, but disciplined habits create lasting change even when enthusiasm wanes. The 40% rule also encourages embracing discomfort as a catalyst for growth. Life naturally presents challenges, but deliberately seeking difficult experiences accelerates personal development. Running longer distances, lifting heavier weights, or tackling mentally stressful tasks are all ways to expand one's perceived limits. Each challenge endured strengthens both body and mind, gradually rewiring the way we respond to adversity. Another crucial element of Goggins' approach is accountability. Keeping oneself honest through self-reflection and evaluation ensures that growth is intentional. This can take the form of journaling, reviewing progress toward goals, or confronting excuses head-on. By measuring performance against personal standards rather than external validation, individuals cultivate a resilient mindset that is immune to the distractions of comparison or fleeting success. Finally, the 40% rule is a reminder that potential is limitless when fear, doubt, and self-imposed boundaries are challenged. It teaches that our perception of what we can endure is often far too conservative. By applying this principle to everyday life, whether through physical challenges, intellectual pursuits, or personal relationships, Goggins demonstrates that extraordinary growth is accessible to anyone willing to push past initial discomfort and keep moving forward. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' strategies for mental callousing through deliberate suffering, including the methods he uses to strengthen the mind and stay resilient in the face of life's inevitable challenges.
One of the most distinctive aspects of David Goggins' philosophy is the idea of mental callousing, the deliberate practice of exposing oneself to discomfort, stress, and pain in order to strengthen the mind. Just as hands develop toughness through repeated labor, the mind grows resilient when intentionally challenged. This concept is central to Goggins' approach to life, illustrating that true strength comes not from avoiding suffering, but from confronting it head-on. From his childhood to adulthood, Goggins learned that adversity is inevitable. Life will test patience, endurance, and courage. What separates those who thrive from those who falter is the willingness to face these challenges without retreat. Mental callousing, as he practices it, requires stepping deliberately into situations that are uncomfortable, difficult, or frightening. Each instance of perseverance over pain builds a layer of mental toughness, preparing individuals for even greater obstacles. A key part of this process is embracing physical and psychological challenges that most people would avoid. Running ultramarathons, completing brutal obstacle courses, enduring extreme temperatures, and tackling seemingly impossible tasks are all ways Goggins deliberately exposed himself to discomfort. These activities are not undertaken for glory or recognition. They are exercises in building resilience, teaching the mind that pain is temporary and controllable. Goggins also highlights the importance of reframing suffering. Pain is unavoidable, but suffering is a choice. By viewing hardships as opportunities to grow rather than as obstacles that stop progress, individuals can transform their mindset. Every setback, failure, or moment of exhaustion becomes a lesson, providing insight into personal limits and the strategies needed to surpass them. This perspective turns life's difficulties into a continuous training ground for mental strength. Another essential element of mental callousing is incremental exposure. Strength is built gradually, by consistently pushing just beyond comfort zones, whether through longer runs, more challenging workouts, or confronting fears. Resilience compounds over time.
Goggins stresses that patience and persistence are critical. Mental callousing is not a quick fix, but a lifelong practice that strengthens character and endurance. Finally, callousing the mind is intimately connected with self-accountability. Goggins repeatedly emphasizes the need to confront oneself honestly. Acknowledging weaknesses, setting tough goals, and refusing to rationalize failures are integral to building mental resilience. The combination of deliberate suffering and brutal self-honesty creates a foundation for enduring any challenge, whether physical, emotional, or social. By mastering mental callousing, Goggins demonstrates that human potential is far greater than most realize. The mind can endure far more than the body initially seems capable of, and by deliberately embracing adversity, anyone can cultivate resilience, confidence, and an extraordinary capacity for perseverance. In the next part, we will examine Goggins' approach to failure and setbacks, exploring how he converts obstacles into opportunities and why embracing failure is critical for long-term growth.
David Goggins' life demonstrates that failure is not an endpoint. It is a stepping stone to growth. From his troubled childhood to the grueling trials of Navy SEAL training and ultra-endurance challenges, he encountered setbacks that would have deterred most people. Yet Goggins reframes failure as an opportunity, a mirror reflecting areas that need improvement, and a catalyst for building resilience and character. Throughout his journey, Goggins experienced failure in many forms. Early academic struggles left him feeling inadequate. Attempts at military training initially ended in rejection, and endurance events pushed his body to the brink of collapse. Each of these moments could have reinforced self-doubt or prompted him to quit. Instead, he chose to analyze every failure meticulously, asking himself where he fell short and what steps were required to improve. This approach transforms setbacks from demoralizing events into tools for self-development. A critical aspect of this philosophy is self-accountability. Goggins never blames circumstances or other people for failure. Instead, he focuses on his own role and how he can take action to change the outcome next time. By confronting the truth without excuses, he strengthens mental resilience and builds the foundation for future success. This principle teaches that growth is often born not from success, but from the honest evaluation of failure. Another lesson Goggins emphasizes is the value of persistence. Experiencing failure repeatedly can be exhausting, yet he demonstrates that persistence in the face of adversity creates progress. The human spirit is remarkably adaptable, and repeated exposure to challenging circumstances allows individuals to develop strategies, refine skills, and increase their capacity to endure discomfort. By refusing to surrender, Goggins shows that setbacks are temporary, but the strength gained from overcoming them is lasting. Goggins also illustrates the importance of reframing fear and obstacles. Often what we perceive as insurmountable challenges are opportunities in disguise. Fear signals that growth is possible, and failure provides a roadmap for improvement. By embracing difficulties rather than avoiding them, Goggins trains his mind to remain calm, focused, and proactive under pressure, a skill that applies equally to physical endurance, career challenges, and personal growth. Finally, Goggins' approach teaches a universal lesson. Success is rarely linear. Life will present cycles of progress and setbacks, triumphs and disappointments. By learning to navigate failure with honesty, resilience, and determination, anyone can harness adversity as a powerful teacher. Goggins' life underscores that embracing failure, rather than fearing it, is a critical step toward achieving one's highest potential. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' diet,
physical discipline, and daily routines, showing how consistent habits support both mental toughness and long-term achievement.
For David Goggins, mental toughness is inseparable from physical discipline. He demonstrates that the body and mind are deeply connected. By training one, you strengthen the other. His daily routines, strict diet, and unyielding commitment to physical fitness are not just about appearance or athletic achievement. They are tools for cultivating endurance, self-control, and resilience. Goggins' approach to physical discipline begins with consistency. Every day he adheres to rigorous schedules of exercise, including running, swimming, cycling, and strength training. This consistency creates structure in life, reinforcing habits that support both mental and physical endurance. Even when motivation is low, the routine itself drives action, proving that discipline is more reliable than fleeting inspiration. Diet is another critical component of his regimen. Goggins follows a disciplined nutritional plan that fuels his body for extreme performance. He avoids shortcuts or indulgences that compromise energy and focus, understanding that what we consume directly affects our capacity for effort and resilience. Nutrition, in his view, is a tool for preparation and longevity, a deliberate strategy to support sustained achievement over time. In addition to formal exercise and diet, Goggins emphasizes micro-challenges in daily life. These small, intentional acts of discomfort, such as waking up early, taking cold showers, or pushing beyond physical limits during workouts, serve to callous the mind. Each seemingly minor effort compounds over time, reinforcing the ability to endure hardship and maintain focus when facing larger obstacles. Another aspect of Goggins' discipline is self-monitoring. He tracks performance, notes weaknesses, and sets incremental goals to improve continuously. This practice ensures that progress is measurable and deliberate, not left to chance. By maintaining accountability through careful observation, he avoids stagnation and builds a growth mindset that fuels long-term resilience. Physical discipline also has profound psychological effects. Enduring rigorous training and strict routines develops patience, persistence, and confidence. By proving to himself that he can withstand discomfort and continue forward, Goggins strengthens the core belief that he can handle life's challenges beyond the gym or race course. This mindset translates to personal, professional, and emotional arenas, reinforcing the principle that resilience is holistic, encompassing body, mind, and spirit. Ultimately, Goggins teaches that discipline is not a punishment, but a path to freedom. The more control one exerts over habits, routines, and physical condition, the greater the sense of empowerment. The daily choice to act deliberately, embrace discomfort, and maintain structure builds the foundation for enduring success and profound self-mastery. In the next part, we will explore David Goggins' approach to overcoming fear, examining how confronting fear head-on strengthens courage, sharpens focus, and expands human potential.
One of the most powerful lessons from David Goggins' life is the importance of confronting fear head-on. Fear, he teaches, is often the mind's way of signaling growth. It emerges when we step beyond the familiar, challenge our comfort zones, or take on tasks that seem impossible. For Goggins, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. Throughout his life, fear appeared in many forms. As a child, it was the fear of abuse, rejection, and failure. As a young adult, it manifested in the intimidating demands of SEAL training, societal judgment, and the uncertainty of pushing his body to extreme limits. Later, in ultra-endurance competitions and public speaking, fear became a test of persistence, mental clarity, and self-confidence.
Each encounter with fear was an opportunity to cultivate resilience and expand his capacity for action. Goggins emphasizes that fear is often magnified by imagination and hesitation. Most people retreat because the mind exaggerates potential consequences or discomfort. By facing fear directly, he demonstrates that these imagined limits are rarely as formidable as they seem. Each act of courage, no matter how small, reinforces the belief that challenges can be overcome. Over time, repeated exposure to fear builds a mental armor, enabling him to tackle ever greater challenges. A key tool Goggins uses to confront fear is visualization and preparation. Before undertaking a difficult task, he mentally rehearses the process, anticipates obstacles, and imagines overcoming them. This mental training reduces anxiety and builds confidence, turning fear into a motivator rather than a barrier. He also breaks intimidating challenges into smaller, manageable steps, focusing on incremental progress to prevent overwhelm. Another aspect of fear management is embracing discomfort intentionally. Goggins actively seeks situations that provoke fear or discomfort, understanding that growth occurs at the edge of stress. Cold water immersion, grueling runs, and high-stakes competitions are not punishments. They are deliberate exercises to strengthen courage and mental endurance. Each confrontation with fear reinforces the idea that the mind is far more capable than most believe. Finally, Goggins teaches that courage compounds over time. By facing fears consistently, we build a repository of experiences that bolster confidence, perseverance, and self-reliance. The more we act despite fear, the less intimidating future challenges become. Courage becomes not just an occasional response, but a daily habit and a guiding principle for life. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' strategies for sustaining motivation, including self-talk, mental reframing, and accountability practices that keep him pushing forward when others might quit.
Motivation, David Goggins emphasizes, is fleeting. What separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who give up is not reliance on inspiration, but the cultivation of inner discipline and mental strategies that sustain effort through difficulty. One of the most powerful tools Goggins uses to maintain momentum is self-talk, the internal dialogue that guides decisions, fuels persistence, and frames challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. Goggins' self-talk is deliberate, honest, and often unflinchingly brutal. He confronts excuses head-on, reminding himself of past failures and unrealized potential. This internal dialogue serves as both accountability and motivation, preventing rationalizations from eroding effort. By acknowledging discomfort and refusing to shy away from it, he transforms challenges into actionable tasks rather than threats. Another key strategy is mental reframing. Goggins views obstacles not as punishments, but as invitations to grow. Physical pain, fear, and setbacks are reframed as training tools for the mind. For example, running through exhaustion or completing a grueling workout is not simply endurance for its own sake. It is deliberate practice in mental resilience. Each moment of suffering is an opportunity to strengthen character, reaffirm purpose, and expand one's capacity to endure. Daily habits also play a critical role in sustaining motivation. Goggins maintains structured routines that eliminate reliance on temporary inspiration. Waking up early, following strict training regimens, journaling progress, and revisiting goals consistently reinforce discipline. These practices create momentum, allowing him to act even on days when energy or desire is low. In essence, he relies on systems rather than mood to drive progress.
Visualization is another technique he uses to fuel sustained effort. By mentally rehearsing challenges, anticipating difficulties, and envisioning success, Goggins prepares the mind to respond effectively under pressure. This practice reduces fear and builds confidence, reinforcing the belief that persistence, focus, and hard work yield results, even in situations that seem insurmountable. Finally, Goggins emphasizes self-accountability as a cornerstone of enduring motivation. Regular reflection, honest assessment of progress, and confronting personal excuses keep him aligned with long-term objectives. He measures success not by fleeting victories, but by consistency, effort, and the ability to keep moving forward when circumstances are toughest. This combination of self-talk, mental reframing, and disciplined routines allows him to maintain extraordinary effort over prolonged periods. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' approach to overcoming limitations imposed by others' expectations, examining how independence, self-belief, and defying societal norms shaped his path to achievement.
David Goggins' journey demonstrates that much of what holds people back is not physical or intellectual limitation, but the expectations imposed by society, peers, or even family. From a young age, he encountered skepticism, prejudice, and low expectations. Others doubted his abilities, questioned his potential, and sometimes tried to define the limits of what he could achieve. Goggins learned early that to reach extraordinary heights, he would have to reject external definitions and trust his own capacity for growth. Society often teaches conformity. Follow the rules, accept mediocrity, and avoid risks. Goggins' life is a counterexample. He intentionally seeks challenges that defy conventional expectations, whether running hundreds of miles in ultramarathons, completing grueling Navy SEAL training, or embracing extreme discomfort for mental fortification. By choosing paths others consider impractical or impossible, he proves that extraordinary achievement is often born from rejecting the limits others impose. Self-belief is central to this approach. Goggins emphasizes the importance of trusting one's own judgment, vision, and resilience, even when others doubt or criticize. This inner conviction acts as a compass, guiding actions through uncertainty, fear, and opposition. It enables individuals to pursue personal excellence without relying on validation, approval, or recognition from others. In essence, independence of thought and action becomes a form of freedom to pursue one's potential fully. Another key lesson is the power of persistence in the face of doubt. Critics, naysayers, and societal pressures often discourage risk-taking or unconventional paths. Goggins demonstrates that persistence, combined with preparation and self-discipline, allows individuals to overcome these external pressures. Every step beyond doubt or fear builds confidence and reinforces the ability to confront future challenges without hesitation. Goggins also highlights the value of setting personal standards rather than following societal norms. By defining success on his own terms, through endurance, discipline, and self-improvement, he maintains focus on what truly matters, rather than what others expect. This internal compass keeps him aligned with his goals, ensuring that external criticism or comparison does not derail progress. Finally, Goggins' life underscores a universal truth. Greatness often requires defiance. To grow beyond perceived limits, individuals must question conventional wisdom, trust their own judgment, and embrace challenges others avoid. Independence, self-belief, and courage to defy expectations become the keys to unlocking potential that would otherwise remain dormant. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' philosophy on pain and suffering as tools for personal growth, diving deeper into how embracing hardship shapes character, endurance, and life purpose.
A cornerstone of David Goggins' philosophy is the understanding that pain and suffering are not enemies, but powerful teachers. Throughout his life, from a turbulent childhood to the grueling experiences of Navy SEAL training and ultra-endurance events, he has learned that true growth is forged in the fire of adversity. Pain is inevitable, but how we respond to it determines the depth of our transformation. Goggins emphasizes that most people avoid discomfort, seeking safety and ease. However, by consistently evading pain, individuals limit their potential. Goggins teaches the opposite: deliberately confront hardship. Physical suffering, long-distance running, cold exposure, or extreme workouts serves as a training ground for the mind. Every painful mile or grueling repetition builds resilience, fortifies willpower, and strengthens the capacity to endure challenges beyond the obvious physical domain. Suffering is also a mirror, revealing truths about character, habits, and limitations. When confronted with discomfort, excuses and weaknesses become apparent. Goggins encourages brutal self-reflection during these moments, using pain as a tool for accountability. By embracing rather than resisting hardship, individuals gain clarity on what must change and what needs to be strengthened. Pain becomes not a punishment, but a guide. Mental reframing is central to this approach. Goggins views obstacles as opportunities and setbacks as lessons. Rather than seeing suffering as a barrier, he perceives it as a vehicle for growth. For example, enduring the intense fatigue of a 100-mile race teaches patience, persistence, and mental fortitude, qualities that translate to every area of life, from personal challenges to professional goals. Deliberate exposure to suffering also strengthens confidence and courage. By repeatedly proving to himself that he can endure extreme situations, Goggins builds an unshakable belief in his ability to handle adversity. This mindset reduces fear, enhances decision-making under pressure, and fosters a sense of control over one's circumstances. The more one embraces discomfort, the less intimidating life's obstacles become. Finally, Goggins' philosophy highlights that transformation is a lifelong process. Pain and hardship are not one-time events. They are opportunities continually presented in different forms. By approaching life with a mindset that seeks growth through suffering, individuals develop resilience, discipline, and clarity of purpose. Hardship is no longer something to dread, but a tool for self-mastery and empowerment. In the next part, we will examine Goggins' approach to goal achievement and the power of incremental progress, exploring how small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results over time. A defining principle of David Goggins' life is total personal accountability. He believes that to achieve true transformation, individuals must take complete responsibility for their choices, actions, and outcomes. No excuses, no blame, no external rationalizations. Success begins and ends with the individual. This extreme ownership is a cornerstone of his philosophy, shaping every decision, habit, and challenge he undertakes. Goggins emphasizes that excuses are the enemy of growth. When setbacks occur, many people look outward, blaming circumstances, other people, or perceived unfairness. Goggins insists that such thinking is counterproductive. Instead, he advocates for facing the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, and asking, "What can I do to improve? How can I change this situation?" By confronting reality honestly, individuals gain clarity and the power to act effectively. Self-discipline is the tool that enforces accountability. Goggins structures his life with routines, schedules, and habits that leave little room for complacency. From physical training to mental exercises, he relies on discipline to maintain consistent effort even when motivation is absent. Discipline becomes a safeguard against excuses, ensuring that action continues regardless of external conditions or internal discomfort. Another crucial aspect of accountability is reflective honesty. Goggins practices regular self-assessment, reviewing his goals, progress, and shortcomings. This practice allows him to identify weaknesses, adjust strategies, and prevent complacency. By looking inward with brutal honesty, he transforms mistakes and failures into opportunities for growth rather than sources of discouragement. Goggins also applies accountability to every area of life, whether it is physical endurance, professional pursuits, or personal relationships. He evaluates performance against personal standards, not external validation. This approach ensures that effort remains purposeful and aligned with long-term objectives rather than being swayed by societal pressures or fleeting praise. Ultimately, Goggins teaches that extreme accountability fosters freedom and empowerment. By taking full responsibility for life's outcomes, individuals gain control over their destiny. They no longer wait for circumstances to change or for others to intervene. Instead, they act decisively, confront challenges, and continuously push toward growth. Ownership of one's life becomes the foundation for resilience, self-mastery, and extraordinary achievement. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' lessons on consistency, endurance, and maintaining performance under pressure, highlighting how long-term commitment shapes results in both body and mind.
David Goggins' achievements demonstrate that consistency is more important than occasional bursts of effort. While motivation can be fleeting and inspiration temporary, maintaining performance over long periods requires discipline, endurance, and an unwavering commitment to routine. Whether facing physical challenges, personal struggles, or professional goals, Goggins emphasizes that success is built through sustained effort under pressure. One of the central lessons he teaches is the value of showing up every day, regardless of conditions. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances are rarely ideal. Training sessions may be exhausting, setbacks inevitable, and motivation low. Yet by consistently acting, regardless of discomfort or fatigue, individuals build momentum and develop the resilience needed to endure even the most demanding challenges. Consistency, Goggins insists, is a skill cultivated through repetition, accountability, and deliberate action. Endurance is both physical and mental. Goggins' ultra-endurance races, Navy SEAL training, and extreme physical feats illustrate that the human body can withstand far more than the mind initially believes. By pushing beyond perceived limits, individuals not only develop stamina, but also cultivate mental toughness. Endurance, in this sense, becomes a practice of maintaining focus, persistence, and composure under pressure, skills that transfer directly to life's everyday challenges. Another aspect of consistency under pressure is embracing discomfort as routine. Goggins deliberately exposes himself to challenging conditions, long runs in harsh weather, cold immersion, and physically punishing workouts to normalize discomfort. By doing so, he trains his mind to remain calm and persistent when conditions are difficult. Life's pressures become manageable because the mind has been conditioned to tolerate stress without succumbing to panic or avoidance. Goggins also emphasizes small, deliberate actions performed consistently. Success is rarely the result of a single heroic effort. It is the product of daily discipline compounded over time. Each training session, task, or effort contributes incrementally to larger goals, and consistency ensures that progress continues even when immediate results are not visible. Over time, these small actions accumulate into significant achievement. Finally, Goggins' life shows that maintaining performance under pressure requires focus, accountability, and resilience.
By holding himself to high standards, monitoring progress, and refusing to give in to excuses or fear, he sustains effort even in extreme conditions. This principle teaches that long-term success is not a product of luck or innate talent, but of repeated, disciplined action performed consistently under pressure. In the next part, we will explore Goggins' legacy and philosophy for inspiring others, examining how his principles of mental toughness, discipline, and accountability can be applied by anyone to achieve extraordinary results.
David Goggins' life is more than a story of physical feats and mental toughness. It is a blueprint for inspiring others to reach beyond perceived limits. His legacy is rooted in demonstrating the power of discipline, accountability, and resilience, showing that anyone, regardless of background or circumstance, can cultivate extraordinary potential. By sharing his journey openly, Goggins encourages others to confront their fears, embrace discomfort, and pursue continuous growth. Goggins' influence extends far beyond athletic achievements. Through public speaking, interviews, social media, and his writing, he communicates a message that resonates universally. Your limits are often self-imposed. By challenging assumptions, pushing through pain, and refusing to settle, he illustrates that ordinary individuals can achieve extraordinary results. His story motivates people to take ownership of their lives and make deliberate choices to improve, even in the face of adversity. Central to Goggins' philosophy is the idea that inspiration comes not just from words, but from action. He leads by example, demonstrating the principles he teaches: relentless effort, embracing suffering, and maintaining consistency. Observing his accomplishments encourages others to question their own limitations and adopt practices that strengthen mental, emotional, and physical resilience. The impact of this approach is profound, as it empowers people to tackle challenges they once considered impossible. Another important aspect of his legacy is the practical application of his principles. Goggins does not advocate abstract motivation. He provides actionable strategies such as the 40% rule, mental callousing, structured goal setting, and self-accountability. These tools enable individuals to transform ambition into tangible results, making his teachings both relatable and actionable. His life proves that extraordinary growth is accessible through deliberate, disciplined effort rather than relying on talent or luck. Goggins also emphasizes that personal transformation can inspire collective change. When individuals cultivate resilience, discipline, and courage, they influence their communities, workplaces, and families positively. By modeling persistence and integrity, people create a ripple effect, encouraging others to challenge themselves, embrace discomfort, and pursue meaningful goals. In this way, Goggins' philosophy is not only about individual achievement, but also about uplifting others through example. Ultimately, Goggins' legacy is a testament to the power of embracing adversity, cultivating discipline, and holding oneself accountable. His life illustrates that growth is rarely comfortable, and true achievement requires confronting fear, enduring pain, and consistently pushing beyond limits. By following these principles, anyone can not only transform themselves, but also inspire others to reach their highest potential. In the final part, we will provide a conclusion and reflection on Goggins' life lessons, summarizing the core principles that define his extraordinary journey
and offering guidance for applying these lessons in everyday life.
David Goggins' journey offers a remarkable blueprint for personal growth, resilience, and achievement. From a challenging childhood to the grueling demands of Navy SEAL training and ultramarathon races, his life teaches that mental toughness, discipline, and accountability are more important than talent or circumstance. The principles he embodies can be applied by anyone seeking to improve their life, regardless of age, background, or physical ability. One of the most enduring lessons is the power of embracing discomfort. Goggins demonstrates that avoiding pain, fear, and challenge limits potential, while deliberately confronting hardship strengthens the mind and body. Whether through physical exercise, personal challenges, or difficult conversations, consistently facing discomfort fosters resilience, courage, and self-mastery. Another cornerstone is self-accountability. Goggins emphasizes taking full responsibility for one's actions, decisions, and outcomes. Excuses are eliminated, and progress is measured against personal standards rather than external validation. This principle empowers individuals to regain control over their lives, make deliberate choices, and maintain focus on long-term goals even when circumstances are difficult. The 40% rule offers a powerful mindset shift. Most people quit far before reaching their true limits. Recognizing that we can push beyond perceived boundaries allows us to access hidden reserves of strength, endurance, and potential. By practicing incremental growth, setting measurable goals, and committing to consistent daily effort, even seemingly impossible objectives become achievable over time. Goggins' life also illustrates the value of mental reframing and perspective. Pain, failure, and setbacks are not obstacles, but opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow. By reframing challenges as training for the mind, individuals can develop perseverance, clarity, and confidence that extend far beyond physical or professional arenas. Discipline and consistency are equally crucial. Goggins shows that small, deliberate actions performed daily compound into extraordinary results. Habit, routine, and persistent effort provide structure and momentum, making long-term achievement possible even when motivation falters. Physical training, self-reflection, goal-setting, and mental exercises are all part of this daily practice that strengthens both mind and body. Finally, Goggins' life underscores the importance of courage and self-belief. Success often requires defying societal expectations, confronting fear, and trusting in one's own judgment. By refusing to accept limitations imposed by others, or even by oneself, individuals can unlock potential that once seemed unattainable. In conclusion, David Goggins' story is a testament to the transformative power of adversity, discipline, and relentless effort. His principles, embracing discomfort, holding oneself accountable, maintaining consistency, pushing past perceived limits, and reframing challenges, offer a roadmap for achieving personal excellence. By applying these lessons thoughtfully in everyday life, anyone can cultivate resilience, purpose, and extraordinary achievement, proving that human potential is far greater than most of us realize.